oil to mineral resources.
The resources are there, they've not disappeared, but we have been blinded by the opportunities provided by oil. However, we're now clear in our minds that the oil rains would not last forever. Important as they are to us, we need to really move in the direction of developing other resources that we are endowed with in our country. And there are many.
As far back as mineral deposits are concerned, Kogi State and next-door neighbor Nasarawa State are the most well-endowed across the entire country. Kogi alone has deposits of a total of 29 mineral resources. However, the level of exploitation of these minerals is very low in relation to the extent of the new national policy on solid minerals. The policy is to ensure the orderly development of the mineral resources of the country. The question beckons, what is the Ministry of Solid Minerals doing in terms of harnessing these mineral deposits for economic growth?
First Chibok schoolgirl rescued from Boko Haram captivity breaks her silence, speaks to newsmen.
The government have been providing their needs. They've been feeding them, they've been taking very good care of them. So she wants to say thank you.
Federal government promises decisive action against fraudsters using the president's name for extortion.
Polio in Borno, Minister of Health announces robust wild polio outbreak response plan to prevent further spread to states.
And today on Good Morning Nigeria, we focus on the Nigerian military fighting on several fronts, plus the many headaches of the People's Democratic Party.
Now, in recent times, the Nigerian military has stepped up interventions in internal security challenges to save the country from total breakdown of law and order.
Well, certainly the reasons are not far-fetched. The kidnapping, terrorism, armed robbery, herdsmen and farmers' clashes, and other conflicts have assumed alarming proportions. At the moment, the Nigerian military says it has deployed its personnel to 30 states of the Federation to deal with various forms of crime.
Now, the ongoing military operations in the various regions of the country were given different coded names, perhaps for easy administration and strategic implementation.
Now, we have heard of Operation Lafi Adole, Operation Crackdown, Operation Gamma Aiki, Operation Sharon Daji, Operation Delta Safe, Operation Crocodile Smile, and Operation Awatse.
But some security analysts of the view that the Nigerian armed forces are overwhelmed by the demands of major ongoing operations in different regions of the country.
Now, is the Nigerian army or indeed the Nigerian armed forces truly overwhelmed by the ongoing operations in different states of the Federation? Are the personnel on top of the situation? And is there ultimately an end in sight to the internal security challenges now being confronted by the military? And also, are the armed forces fully equipped to deal decisively with the situation they are grappling with at the moment to ensure the stability and peaceful coexistence of the country?
And you know, Kingsley, an added question is the welfare of our military men. These are some of the talking points we'll be looking at this morning on the program, Military Operations in Nigeria, and you know how well they're doing, the welfare of our military men and how we're winning the war against terrorism.
Absolutely, Rhoda. Now, we also, as part of our discussion segment, intend to take a look at the, as it were, unending controversy surrounding the National Convention of the PDP and how the PDP ultimately is governed. Now, on that note, we'd like to welcome you to Good Morning Nigeria. I'm Kingsley Osadolo.
And I'm Rhoda Obo. I join Kingsley welcoming you to another edition of the program, coming to you from the network service of the Nigerian Television Authority, NTA, Africa's largest television network.
All right, so in the course of the program, we shall bring you our regular companion segments. These include newspaper review, business, sports, and foreign. Unfortunately, we lost by 2 goals to Germany. And just some hours ago, we also lost to the men's 200 meters semi-final to qualify for the final. Oduduru came 7th. Of course, he ran a good time, 20-something seconds. But there will be other stories, of course, from the Rio Olympics. We're kicking off right now with the news, and our guide is Anne Jibuno. Hi, Anne.
Hello, Kingsley, and good morning, Rhoda. Good morning, Nigeria. Here's the news. The first Chibok schoolgirl rescued from Boko Haram captivity 3 months ago, Amina Ali Nkeki, has broken her silence. State House correspondent Adamu Sambo reports that Amina and another girl, Sarah Luka, who was rescued afterwards, spoke to NTA News and a group of international media organizations.
It is important that the right narratives are told, as you have heard from her, contrary to some of the stories that are being peddled. So it's an important opportunity that the government has given to Nigerians, to the rest of the world, to have a window opened into the life of somebody who was there as a captive, who is now free and being rehabilitated, taken care of by the government of Nigeria.
The federal government has warned fraudsters using the name of President Muhammadu Buhari, his family members, and any senior government official to extort money from Nigerians to desist from this criminal act or face the wrath of the law. In a statement issued in Abuja on Wednesday, the Minister of Information and Culture, Alhaji Lai Mohammed, said the government is aware that some opportunists have been to different government organizations with notes purportedly recommending them for contracts and other patronage using the name of the president, his family members, or senior government officials to intimidate those organizations. The minister said the president hasn't authorized any government official to write notes recommending anyone for contract or any form of patronage. He warns those involved in such fraudulent activities to stop immediately or face possible arrest and prosecution. He also warned government officials who may be working in conjunction with these conmen to desist from this act. If not, they will face disciplinary action. The people of Enugu State will always support the Nigerian Army in its efforts to ensure peace and security in the country. Governor Ifeanyi Ugwanyi stated this when he received members of the House of Representatives Committee on Army.
We are said to have been attacked. We want to hear what happened, we hear their own stories. We have a meeting with the security agencies in our car to also hear from them.
The responsibility to ensure the security of lives and property of Nigerians and to rid the nation of terrorists is indeed a collective one and requires the cooperation and collaboration of all citizens and the relevant institutions.
Following the recent wild polio outbreak in 2 local government areas in Borno State, the Minister of Health, Professor Isaac Adewale, has announced revised robust wild polio outbreak response plan to ensure the containment of all the cases and prevent further spread to states. The plan includes 5 rounds of polio campaign, which had to be synchronized with provinces in neighboring countries.
Bama, Mafa local government areas concurrently with active case search. We are working closely with the Ministry of Defense to provide security for the health workers during the house-to-house immunization and also to provide timely information on security and accessibility situation in Borno State and its environs.
Information and Culture Minister Lai Mohammed says a steering committee to draw up an agenda ahead of the inaugural meeting of the Presidential Council on Tourism has been put in place and already began work. The minister stated this when he granted audience to members of the Federation of Tourism Association of Nigeria.
If you do not resolve that council and make that council functional, it will be difficult for tourism to develop. It's only when this council meets that we are able to resolve interministerially all these issues you have raised today.
We are the private sector. The success of the public sector means our success. So we are not only talking about funding for us, we are also asking that the ministry be well funded and well manned.
Well, that's the news for now. It's back to Rhoda and Kingsley.
All right, thank you very much there, and Jibudon for the news. Now we'll take a short break. When we return, it will be time for our business segment.
If you hear a bomb explosion or gunshots of an active shooter, that might be a terror attack. At such times, always remember 3 action words: run, hide, report. Don't try to run towards the terror scene to save the situation, because there might be a second bomb blast or another attack. Run far away and take cover. Make sure you are safe first. Yes, it is in our nature to sympathize over the hurt, but remember, only trained personnel can help in such situations. When in a secured environment, promptly call relevant authorities and help will come. For anonymous reporting, call 09630-3250-5 or 0813-2222-106. If you see something, say something. Nigeria unite against terrorism.
This message is brought to you by the Federal Ministry of Information and Culture.
You get 3 kinds of moms. The paranoid mom, the cautious mom, and the Dettol mom. She only trusts Dettol antiseptic liquid to protect her family from up to 100 illness-causing germs, and it's recommended for cuts and scrapes, which is why you can worry less and love more. Don't just be any mom, be a Dettol mom.
Welcome back. If you've just joined us, you're watching Good Morning Nigeria on Africa's largest TV network, the NTA. And it's time now to bring you some business news. Nigeria imports about $227 million worth of sugar in 7 months, and South Africa at the brink of recession. Let's get more details from our business correspondent, Leah Katung Babatunde.
The Central Bank of Nigeria, CBN, will today host governors of African central banks. The meeting is scheduled to hold at the Apex Bank's headquarters in Abuja, and President Muhammadu Buhari is expected to declare it open. Nigeria imported $227 million of sugar in the first 7 months of this year, according to the Central Bank. In a monthly compilation of funds used for sugar imports, the highest monthly value of imports of $79.1 million was recorded in June. The document indicates that the amounts are for raw sugars as well as chemically pure glucose and glucose syrup not containing fructose. Nigeria is looking for investments of $7 billion in mining and steel over the next decade as it seeks to develop gold and iron ore extraction industries to diversify the economy. Solid Minerals Development Minister Kayode Fayemi said one of government's priorities is to meet its annual steel demand of 6.8 million metric tons from a current output of a third of that, produced mainly from scrap iron. Fayemi said in an interview in Abuja that about $5 billion will kickstart the mining sector, and in 2 to 5 years, production of iron ore, lead, zinc, bitumen, nickel, coal and gold expected to start at a serious scale. Boosting mining output along with developing agriculture and infrastructure is part of plans to broaden the economy of Africa's second largest oil producer. The Nigerian Stock Exchange sustained gradual strides midweek as investor confidence begins to build. The all-share index added 0.18% to close at 27,437.25 points, while the market capitalization increased to 9.423 trillion naira. 297 million equities worth 2.288 billion were traded in 3,438 deals. Access Bank, UBA, and Guarantee Trust Bank led activities. Ecobank Transnational, Eternal Oil, and NPF Microfinance Bank advanced the most, while Cement Company of Northern Nigeria, International Breweries, and Ikeja Hotels declined the most.
All right, Leah Katumba Batunde, thank you very much there for the business package. Now it's time for us to take a look at the headlines in some of the papers that we have with us today.
Our newspaper reviewer, Bayo Toby, is already seated. Bayo Toby, good morning and welcome.
Good morning, Rhoda. Good morning, Kingsley, and good morning, Nigeria.
All right, let's begin our review this morning with the Daily Trust. The Daily Trust newspaper has as its lead story, Federal Government probes Jonathan over Niger Delta bombings. Now, that's also the lead story for the Nation newspaper. The Nation newspaper says, report links Jonathan to Niger Delta Avengers. One says federal government probes Jonathan. Now, the Nation says, report links Jonathan to Niger Delta Avengers. But there's a writer to the headline of the Nation newspaper. I have nothing to do with bombing of oil installations, says ex-president. Now, back again to the Daily Trust newspaper, two headlines below the nameplate, PDP crisis. McCarthy gets 1-year extension. It's a huge joke that's attributed to Modu Sharif. Details of that story can be found on page 3. Now, also there on the front page, Shema, Jang and Lamido face investigations. Shema is former governor of Katsina, Jang, Plateau, and Lamido of Jigawa. They face investigations, and details of the story on page 4. Now, the photograph on the front page of the Daily Trust newspaper, of course, was taken from Port Harcourt yesterday, showing armed policemen who barricaded the road leading to the Shark Stadium, where the PDP convention was scheduled to take place yesterday. Now, also on the front page there, I miss my husband, in quotes, rescued Chibok girl says. That's on page 4. And Skybank not distressed. That's according to the CBN. Details of that story can be found on page 14.
And
yes,
now on the front page, just beside the name flag, federal government orders massive importation of kerosene. That's on the front page of the Punch newspaper. And below the name flag, captions it this way: PDP convention drama. Wike others shift poll extends McCarthy's term. Police seal Congress venue. Fayose absent. McCarthy must face contempt charge, says Sharif. All of the details of that on page 7. And of course, the picture story is also from Port Harcourt, what we saw yesterday. But beside the picture story, El-Rufai calls for arrest of killer headsman. Assassins kill couple, abduct 3 children. Also, Apex court rules on Ikbe Azu Oga government tussle today. That's on page 11. And then also on page 11, Avengers split over dialogue with federal government. Bayo Toyebi.
Yes, the key story there is about security. Allegations that the former president had something to do with the Avengers. This is based on alleged security reports that before handover of May 29th, many oil installations were already mined, and that has also been denied by the former president, that he had nothing to do with the Avengers. This allegation has been on for a long time. It's been allegation and counter allegations, but time will justify the approve or otherwise. The other controversy is the People's Democratic Party convention that failed to hold yesterday in Port Harcourt. Instead, the national officers of the convention planning committee met and extended the tenure of Alhaji Ahmed Mohammed McCarthy as the chairman by another 12 months. However, police say they had to cordon off the venue, and their explanation was that they sealed off the place to prevent a total breakdown of law and order. Justice Okun Aban of the Federal High Court, Abuja, issued an order stopping the convention. Senator Alimodu Sharif says that the decisions taken by Senator Ahmed Mokaravi-led committee are all illegal. However, Justice Nwamaka Ogbonnaya of the FCT High Court, this time from Kubwa, reinforced the earlier judgment of Justice Valentine Ashi that Senator Alimodu Sharif should stop parading himself as chairman of the PDP. Meanwhile, some lawyers particularly have urged the National Judicial Council to take urgent steps to stem these increasing cases of conflicting verdicts, particularly by courts of concurrent jurisdiction. Felix Fabungwe advised that judges should desist from playing politics with judicial power. He says that the judiciary is playing into the hands of the political class. He says the higher courts must frown at this anarchy that is developing in the courts.
Well, by the way, Bayo, I'm sure that our viewers will wish to go to page 3 of the Daily Trust. When they get to page 3, they will see the timelines of the various cases involving the PDP. I mean, you have it there. You might not be able to see that on your screen. And these cases start cases and decisions starting from the 12th of May this year. I mean, you have a number of the cases there. It's an illustration. It's an infographics provided by Daily Trust on page 3. So that's a further elaboration on the crisis. You can see that there on your screen. Page 3 of Daily Trust. But let's return to the Nation newspaper. Nation newspaper, above its name flag, has a number of headlines. 87 million children for immunization against polio. Details of that can be found on page 42. And why I am probing Jank's administration by Lalong, and EFCC detains Udenwa over 250 million naira election cash. Lagos to receive 13% derivation for 4 oil wells. That's on page 7 in greater detail. And budget padding, court declines to hear Jibrin's suit. Now, Edo 26 is below the name flag. You have a number of headlines there. PDP plotting to import thugs, says Oshomole. Group endorses Ize Yamu and Obaseki to curb double taxation. That's on page 45. Then you also have a story there at the foot of the front page of the Nation newspaper. Buhari never received pension. That's on page 10.
And quickly on this day, just above the masthead, of course, Nigeria lost yesterday Rio Olympics. Nigeria to play Honduras for football bronze medal. That's on page 55. Below the name flag, the big story, Defiant PDP holds convention, extends McAfee and others' tenure. And with riders, police denies sealing convention venue. Fire says I was under house arrest in Port Harcourt. Abuja court affirms Sharif's ouster, and APC denies involvement in legal tussle. Earlier, Kingsley also read this. Federal government approves 4 oil wells, 13% derivation for Lagos. And finally, just below the paper, federal government to release 9.8 billion naira to fight polio. That's on page 10.
Yes, talking about the story about polio, the Minister of Health, Professor Isaac Odewole, says that many more states are in a high risk of the polio thing. And he lamented that the 2 cases that were reported from Borno State, one was from Goza, the other was Jere local government of Borno State, and both cases came from security compromises because of movement of persons from across the border. However, there is now going to be a new polio campaign. This is called the Polio Virus Outbreak Response Plan, and 56,363,618 children are to be vaccinated between October and November this year. Talking about health, the Catholic Bishops' Conference also of Ibadan has lamented that for collaboration with foreign organizations and the Ministry of Health is imposing, encouraging abortion, and this is an outrage and a threat to anti-life. They also praised President Muhammadu Buhari for his corruption campaign and said that he should put in place an institution that will ensure that the fight against corruption would outlive him. They also cautioned that the election in Ondo and Edo State should be made to be violence-free. Lagos had 5 wells, 4 of them were said to be within the 200 miles berth, and therefore they are now to get 13% derivation. Governor Ambode of Lagos State says that Lagos is the first to join the diversification of oil. Already, they're exploring for oil in the Chad Basin and the Benue Trough.
All right, on that note, Bayo Tobe, we'd like to thank you for being with us today. We'll see you tomorrow.
Tomorrow will be another day. Thank you very much.
Okay, we'll take a short break now. When we return, don't forget we have two items to discuss today. One is on military operations in different parts of the country, and then the other is on the unending crisis in the PDP.
Nigerians. Suicide bombers are not spirits. They are not ghosts. They are human beings like you and me. They live amongst us. They are your neighbors. They are your friends today, but terrorists tomorrow. So you must know your neighbor now. Security begins with you and me. Know your neighbor. Be vigilant. Be security conscious. Report suspicious persons, objects, and movements to the police and other security agencies. The security of our nation is a duty for you and me.
If you see something, say something. Nigeria unite against terrorism.
This message is brought to you by the Federal Ministry of Information and Culture.
Introducing new Dettol multi-surface cleaner for a healthy home. Some cleaners don't kill germs, others kill germs but don't clean properly. New Dettol multi-surface cleaner gives you 10 times better germ kill, 10 times better cleaning, and all-day freshness for a healthy home.
Germs, oil and dirt cause blemishes and uneven skin tone. You need Dettol Even Tone. It removes 99.9% of germs and is formulated to remove excess oil and dirt, helping to reduce blemishes. New Dettol Even Tone.
Nigeria! Always pushing. I am running, but not for my life. I am a football field, not a battlefield. I am a mother, a father. I am 2 jobs. I am jumping, shooting, swimming toward a new world. I am not alone. I am a room full of friends, a crowd full of cheers. I am full of wonder. I am you. And together, we can change the world.
Welcome back. You're still on to Good Morning Nigeria on the NTA. And let's kickstart our first discussion this morning as we focus on the Nigerian military fighting on several fronts to combat internal security challenges. And we'll take this background report put together by Mohammed Abdulkadri, of course, which will set the foundation for our discussion this morning.
Nigeria, the most populated black nation with over 170 million people and bordered by Niger, Chad, and Cameroon, is grappling with internal and externally induced security challenges. The shared polarized boundaries with neighboring countries have implications for national territorial defense and externally induced cross-border crimes. This scenario prompted President Muhammadu Buhari on assumption of office to embark on diplomatic shuttles to champion bilateral and multilateral cooperation to deal with common security threats, especially terrorism. This initiative by the Nigerian government brought back the moribund multinational joint task force, with its headquarters moved from Borno State to N'Djamena, Chad, under the then Major General Tukuru Yusuf Buratai, now Chief of Army Staff. So far, Nigeria is the only country that has released about 65% counterpart funding for the force, currently headed by a Nigerian, Major General Lamidi Adeosun, while other countries only provided troops and yet to meet their financial obligations. Back home, the security climate is cloudy owing to internal security threats and externally imported global terrorism. The northeast of Borno, Adamawa, Yobe, as well as parts of northwest became a peak center for terrorist activities. Counter-terrorism operations launched from 2009 to date include Operation Boyona, Zaman Lafia, and now Lafia Dole, as well as Gama Aiki in the northeast. At the tactical and operational levels, military, paramilitary, and security operatives, as well as multi-agencies, came under same umbrella, since no single service can stop the impunity of terrorists and defeat them. Joint military operational strategy gave birth to the decimation of the camps and corridors of the insurgents, now at the verge of being defeated. The recent video released by a faction and fraction by dying sect in their desperation to seek relevance portends defeatist propaganda to whip up public sentiments and sympathy. Recent support by US, UK, France, and other friendly countries are products of efforts of the present administration towards putting the country on the path of peace and progress.
Well, we'd like to thank our defense correspondent, Mohammed Abdulkadir, for that background report. Now we have two big guns who are with us on the studios this morning to discuss the military operations going on in different parts of the country. At this time, we'd like to welcome to Good Morning Nigeria the Chief of Army Staff, Lieutenant General Tuko Buratai. General Buratai, it's our pleasure to have you for the first time on Good Morning Nigeria.
Thank you very much. I'm pleased to be here.
Okay.
We also have in the studio the Chief of Air Staff, Air Marshal Sadiq Abubakar. It's a pleasure to have you join us on Good Morning Nigeria.
Thank you very much. I'm most delighted to be here.
All right, gentlemen, let's begin our conversation. I mean, from the background report and indeed from what we get to know in terms of reports daily in the media, you find that the military is engaged in virtually every part of the country in terms of operations. Only a couple of weeks ago, we heard of what the Air Force was doing with regard to the pipeline vandals in the Arekbo area, as well as in the Niger Delta area. You have the militants who are still disrupting pipelines and oil production. Of course, on the northeast, we're aware of what you're doing. The northwest, cattle rustling. And in the middle belt areas, you have the menace of the herdsmen and farmers clashes. How are the operations going, General Buratai?
Well, thank you very much. Once again, good morning, Nigeria, and indeed Nigerians. Well, we have to look at it within the context of our constitutional responsibilities, these security challenges that we've been tackling with over the years. If you see the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, 1999, as amended, provides Section 217, 1 to 3, our various responsibilities, defending Nigeria from external aggression, and as well as maintain her territorial integrity, as well as coming to an aid, to aid civil authority. These are, basic responsibilities that you see in the military, the army, performing such responsibilities. So we've been called out to perform our duties. And I think we are doing it the way it should be, professionally. And we need to be understood that the Nigerian Army is a product of the Constitution, as well as it is an instrument of the government and indeed the people of Nigeria to defend the interests, the general interests. The Army, Navy, and the Air Force have different responsibilities as enshrined in the Constitution, as I mentioned. So we have to perform our roles in that respect. It's quite challenging, but I think we are up to the task so far.
Well, you just said that it's quite challenging. How much of a challenge is this, seeing the fact that very lately, we've had vandalism, there's an increase in vandalism, cattle rustling. Of course, we've been dealing with Boko Haram, and of course, we're winning that war. But how much of a challenge is this increase to you?
Well, you see, when you talk of internal security operations, the lead agency is the Nigeria Police, which is obvious. And in terms of manpower, we have that challenge. If you look at the population of Nigeria before now, in the 70s, 80s, and if you look at the strength of the military then and then now, you can see that the military as it is, has enormous responsibilities, and we are in the process of getting our strength increased and carrying out the necessary training and indeed equipping especially the army, which I'm heading. So there is need for clear understanding that yes, our population then 70 million, 80 million, in the 70s, 80s, but now almost triple. So, and the conflicts have, or the challenges, have increased also. We never knew there was any suicide, there would be any suicide bombing. Never knew this cattle rustling was at very low level. The militancy in the Niger Delta is another challenge, and now the mother of them all, the Boko Haram insurgency. This requires enough manpower, requires enough equipment, all right, and so on. But by and large, we've been able to address this challenge vis-a-vis the use of the available resources we have, as well as the judicious use of the manpower on the ground. That's our strength. And the antecedents, or what happened before this administration came in, the the government of President Muhammadu Buhari, and the challenges then were seen as unsurmountable. But with the commitment, the political will, and with the political direction by the government, and when we came on board, we now face those challenges, and today we are in a better position to beat our chest that yes, the Nigerian military, the Nigerian army is living up to its billings.
All right, General Burutai, thank you very much. We'll come back to you, of course, in the course of this conversation. Let's now get the comments of Air Marshal Sadiq Abubakar, who is the Chief of Air Staff. The Air Force still, sometime in the past, was said to have virtually lost its wings. But again, from the reports that we've been reading in terms of the operations in the Northeast, and lately also in the Lagos-Ogun area, this would appear to be some heightened assignments, as it were, for the Nigerian Air Force. How has this come?
Well, thank you very much. I think what is important is for us to realize where we are coming from. I agree with you that to a large extent we had a lot of problems in the last 3-4 years. And what we simply did was to critically evaluate the situation on ground with regards to whether we are adhering to the fundamentals of employment of air power. We also had to critically look at the logistics support situation, especially in the Northeast. We also went in to look at the level of training given to the pilots. As I usually say, you can only give what you have. So training was an issue. Serviceability of the airplanes was another serious issue. And I think with the support given by the President, we've been able to address some of the challenges, the most fundamental challenges, in terms of serviceability of aircraft. And that is why today we cannot only talk about supporting the operation in the Northeast. We are there in the South-South. We are substantially there in Lagos as well, the Southwest. And to a lesser extent, we are operating in the Northwest. In addition to that, recently, because of the fact that we are getting more airplanes serviceable, we had to launch an air patrol that is taking care of some of the criminal activities that are taking place along the Abuja-Kaduna road. So I think what has happened is we have taken time to critically look at all the gamut of activities that the Air Force is involved in. And after conducting that assessment, we realized that we really have to address the issues of training. And we have been training and retraining our pilots. Currently, as I speak to you, we have about 50 Nigerian Air Force pilots that are training in different parts of the world, trying to acquire the right skills, trying to get what is required in terms of skills and in terms of training to be able to really face the challenges that we are facing in Nigeria. Similarly, quite a number of aircraft technicians and engineers have also been sent out to acquire the required training. In addition to training, of course, what is equally important is proper coordination of our activities with the surface forces, in this case, the Nigerian Army. I think we have been able to achieve an excellent coordination in terms of what is required, not only in the Northeast, but in different parts of the country that we are jointly operating. Apart from coordination, I think for us in the Air Force also, we have realized that entrusting a multi-million-dollar aircraft to an individual whose welfare has not been taken care of is not likely to give you the best, and is a big gamble. And that is why the idea of looking at some of the difficulties that some of these young guys that are flying, such as accommodation, such as medication, getting medical services to their dependents, and so on and so forth, is very fundamental to whatever we are doing.
All right, Marshal Sadiq, thank you very much. But let's, gentlemen, let's take a look at it. I've just been thinking, not since the end of the Nigerian Civil War in 1970 have we found or seen the Nigerian military being engaged in several operations and on several fronts. What does this mean? It's the military overwhelmed in a sense. I mean, General, you've indicated that is what you are doing, but I mean, if you are fighting on several fronts, as you very well know, that could actually cause some challenge for even the best organized military.
Yeah, definitely. It's a challenge that one will look at it, in different ramifications. First of all, what is the political strategic direction when you look at it at the government level? Is there the political will to really address these challenges? It is the responsibility of the government to recruit and equip the armed forces, for them to carry out their responsibilities. Has it been done then and now? Have you assessed, what are those things that have been, acquired, for the military as at the time they required them? Now, if you look at the political strategic direction, we have the political will, and this is quite fundamental. We've gotten sufficient, let me say, attention. We've gotten sufficient attention in terms of the troops' welfare, in terms of equipment, in terms of general administration of the army from the government. The first 2 months when we came on board, we advanced, quite a substantial amount of money, 20 billion in the first instance, for us to quickly, change the whole perception, as well as to administer the troops appropriately and get the requisite equipment for the fighting in the Northeast and indeed other parts of the country. This is a fundamental issue, fundamental point that there is a strong will on the part of the government to see that the fight against insurgency is addressed, as well as all other security challenges. That is not all. At the strategic level, which I attempted to mention earlier, is that the government has given us a direction. Let me call it the marching order, to move out from Abuja and move to the northeast, the epicenter of the theater of the conflict. You cannot sit down, far away from the theater and assume things are going on well. No matter how you shout, no matter directives you churn out on daily basis on the operation there, as long as you're not on the ground to see what is happening, you can achieve the desired objective. So our presence there has significantly also at the operational level, contributed based on the government directive for us to move into the northeast and look at things by ourselves, and look at how the troops are administered, look at their welfare, look at the equipment state, look at their general morale, and so on. And it also gave us the opportunity to look at what should be the overall concept of the operation. Is the existing concept suitable for us to execute this conflict successfully the way we want? So we have taken the initiative. First thing was, when I moved into the northeast, the very day I assumed responsibility as Chief of Army Staff, I didn't even sit down in the office. I just went straight to the northeast, and right there and then I saw the weak link, in terms of relationship between the ground troops and indeed the headquarters, the field commanders and the command headquarters here in Abuja. So we quickly decided to realign some of the formations, as the 3 divisions that was roving between Yola, Damaturu, and Jos. We now said, no, you must stay in Damaturu. That's where the situation is. Where the Boko Haram had, their free movement. They had field day there, because the assumption was that Maiduguri or Borno State was the main challenge, while leaving the periphery. So we said, no, we must block these areas and now push them to a direction where we should control the operation there. So we changed our direction, directives were changed, the strategy was changed, and new operational directives were issued. And new formations were inducted into the operation. We created new school, specially to train troops that will be inducted into the operation, so that they have the right frame of mind, they have the right skills, for them to go into that operation. And we no longer say, no, don't sit down. You don't sit down in one place. You just have to pursue these criminals, to wherever they are. And before they even reach you, you must reach them. That is the responsive, focus that we got across to the troops in the field. And I say, no, we must have a direction. And what is that direction? In modern management, you don't just, give out directives or instructions, without having a vision. So I say, yes, I must have a vision that is apt and appropriate, to what is going on presently within the army. So I said, let's have a professionally responsive Nigerian army in the discharge of its constitutional roles. And this key was their responsiveness and professionalism. We must be responsive to whatever challenge we face.
General Buratai, one of the issues we've been dealing with is that some of this, especially in the Northeast, has to do with the fact that they're from external forces, that is, the people that we seem to share borders, with the Chad, the Cameroon. How much of our relationship in terms of intelligence sharing have we strengthened? And earlier on, during our background report, the reporter said that we had, the counterpart funding about 65. I heard you saying something that has kind of increased. So how much of that are we building in terms of intelligence with our neighboring countries to put an end to this? And our counterpart funding, has it increased?
All right, thank you very much once again. Now this, an issue that has to do with the multinational joint task force. In the first place, when this conflict started, there was some kind of apathy, some kind of nonchalance, attitude, on the parts of neighbors, thinking that this is just an issue, a Nigerian issue, which should be contained and remain within Nigeria, until when it started, reaching their own end, and then they realized that yes, this is not an issue of Nigeria alone, but it's a regional issue. So quickly talks were initiated within the Lake Chad Basin Commission countries, as well as the AU also was involved. The United Nations was also involved at a later stage. So various documents were arrived at. The concept of operation were developed, for the multinational joint task force within the Lake Chad Basin Commission countries. So when they realized it, yes, they need to come. But even at that stage, the full commitment was not there. They prefer to address it probably as a Nigerian problem, and they are coming in to help. That was the initial perception. Yeah. So when they started hitting, when the terrorists started, hitting, their own territories, so started hitting them in their own territories, it now dawned on them that yes, the regional effort need to be strengthened, and now decision was arrived, to finally consummate the multinational joint task force. There is, among the responsibilities of the various components of the countries, apart from contributing troops, they are also to fund, the operation. And Nigeria, in the first instance, pledged $100 million. And the first one, the first tranche, was $21 million that President Muhammadu Buhari approved and released almost immediately when he came on board. And as of today, I tell you, almost 100% of that 100 million naira had been released to the multinational joint task force for its operation.
Well, General Buratai, thank you very much. Let's also bring in now Air Marshal Sadiq Abubakar. Of course, you've listened to your brother, Chief. Let's take a look, for instance, at some of your operations. There have been videos of airstrikes recently in the southwest. That's Arekpo and the Lagos axis dealing with pipeline vandals. But the most prominent, of course, are the videos coming out of Sambisa. At some point over the last couple of years, or few years, Sambisa was deemed to be, an impenetrable area. But exactly what is it that we've done now? Is Sambisa now, as it were, fully under Nigerian control? That's one leg of the question. Second leg, arising also from the video that was circulated by Boko Haram elements sometime last week, what concerns should Nigerians or indeed others have about potential or actual collateral damage arising from airstrikes?
Okay, thank you very much indeed. Let me start with the second question. I think from the clip that was released, it's very clear that what the terrorists are actually out to do is to really buy sympathy from Nigerians, because anything that has to do with the Chibok girls is something that touches every Nigerian. Obviously, if you look at the way we conduct our operations, we have what is called the ISR mission. Before any strike, an ISR mission is conducted. ISR stands for Intelligence, Surveillance, and Recce. And what is essentially required there is for you to have a good understanding of the battle space. In other words, what are the legitimate targets? Where is the enemy located? Where is the enemy's logistic base? You know, and we have airplanes. At the beginning of last year, we had only about 2 ISR platforms. Right now we have 5. And the whole essence is you can only deal with these things if you have a clear understanding. Your situational awareness of the theater of conflict must be excellent for you for so many reasons. One of the reasons is that you do not have all the resources that is required. And therefore, you have to really take time, select what is considered as legitimate targets, and after which the aircraft downstream the information straight to the headquarters as it is flying over the battle space. And the commanders there are able to identify the legitimate targets, and they are able to plan their mission. And these missions are now conducted. And after the missions, there's what is called the BDA, Battle Damage Assessment. The same thing, the ISR platform conducts the battle damage assessment to determine whether or not there is need for a second mission. If there is no need for a second mission, you do not need to get airborne because it will be wasteful to carry your bombs and go into a place that has already been destroyed. So if you look at the way we conduct, the way and manner we do, we conduct the operations, it's very clear that there is no way absolutely how we will get there and see Chibok girls and then, conduct a strike there. And also, you also have to understand similarly that the ISR missions that we conduct, like I said, are aimed at first and foremost giving us an understanding, not only to us, but we pass the information equally to the army. Whatever is seen is also passed to the army, and their commanders can also use that information to plan their operations. And so from that perspective, you can clearly see that there is no way. While I do not want to sit down here and say there can be no collateral damage completely, there is no country in the world that conducts conflict. Sometimes these are things that cannot be avoided completely. But what I'm telling you is that we take every step necessary to ensure that an innocent person is not in any way killed, and only the terrorists are killed. So from that video, if you look at it critically, you will see even the way they scatter the bodies of the girls. You don't see bodies of dead people after an airstrike like that. They will be in pieces. So from there, it's very clear for us who are professionals, we know exactly that this was just propaganda. And then again, like I said, the major issue that we want to, that we have looked at for us in the Air Force, first and foremost, we conduct what I call close air support operations. And these close air support operations are primarily aimed at creating an enabling environment for the land forces to be able to conduct their operations with little or no hindrance. In addition to that, of course, these type of operations require close coordination with the Army. But there are certain operations also that does not require that level of coordination, which we call the air interdiction. The air interdiction are missions that are aimed at destroying the enemy's capability before it is brought to bear on friendly forces. So these are some of the operations we conduct in order to make sure that the Army is able to conduct their operations. Then, of course, another important aspect, which is very, very important to us, is winning hearts and minds. In any counterinsurgency operation, you cannot succeed if you do not have the support of the community where you are fighting. And that is an aspect that we have also gone into to try to endear ourselves to the community so that they can pass relevant information to us and for us to use that information. And we have done that by providing medical facilities in Maiduguri, and now in Bama. We are about to establish another level 2 hospital in Bama. And the whole idea is to get the community to really pass information to us.
Marshal Sadiq, you have said something really important now, that is having collaborations with the community where you are fighting. But General Tukuruberta, we have said if you see something, say something. How important is information that you have gotten from the public? You know, how has it helped in your fight against terrorism? And as we move on, how important is it that if Nigerians see something, they should be able to report to the appropriate authorities? And what protection do they have if they were to report?
All right. Thank you very much. We've been receiving wonderful cooperation from the public, from the general public, especially those in the Northeast. They've helped a lot in passing information. I tell you, as I speak now, right now, we have operatives, our own operatives, in conjunction with some of the civilian JTFs, hunting these criminals in different parts of the country. Those that have escaped from the Northeast and they've moved to different parts of the country. And we pick them. Several of them have been picked, and they've been profiled, and then necessary actions have been awarded when finally they will be forwarded for the appropriate agencies for prosecution. The protection is quite, an issue that should be of utmost importance to us and indeed to all security agencies. We do everything possible to protect the identity of those that pass this information to us, and we do it discreetly. But I tell you that these people that have been coming forward have been very bold. In fact, they are even sacrificing themselves. They are ready to, take the risk, so as to achieve peace. So this slogan, if you see something, say something, is very, very important. This is sacrifice. Our troops in the field, they are sacrificing themselves daily. We incur casualties, some are maimed, and so on and so forth. We have so many of them lying in the hospitals in Kaduna, in Maiduguri, in Yola, in Lagos, and so on. And some we brought them for expert management here in Abuja, specialist hospitals. So these are sacrifices that the military is taking. And indeed, some Nigerians are even taking this sacrifice. So it will not take anything out of the ordinary Nigerian. Really come forward and say something. Is very, very important. And this will help us.
When they see something.
When they see something.
All right. General Borotai, again, gentlemen, we'll come to you, but just to indicate that our viewers are already joining in the conversation, taking advantage of the Twitter handle you can see on the screen there at NTA GMA. We'll take some of those tweets now, and then we'll return to continue with the conversation. Aminu Uba Hassan tweets, the people of Maiduguri this year had their first Eid in years. In attendance was the Chief of Army Staff himself. Operation Gamma Ike is winning.
And this one is from Bans at Bans 3030. He says the Nigerian Army has recorded tremendous success in the operations, especially in the Northeast, and still counting.
Well, we have a second tweet from Aminu Ba'a Hassan. It says, for locals to be at ease, a multi-force barracks, according to him, that's in quotes, multi-force barracks should be erected in Sambisa. Now, the presence of uniformed men should be there forever.
And this one is from Onyedikachi. He says there should be a mutual synergy between the military and relevant stakeholders for information gathering to curb insecurity in Nigeria.
And Dominic Oga tweets, now the intel gathering in our security agencies, Intel stands for intelligence, should be greatly improved, as well as conflict mapping and tracking. Good luck to our Nigerian armed forces.
Ibrahim Tudu tweets, whether the army is stretched or not, the issue is what is important is the result. There is marked improvement in security in Nigeria.
Well, earlier, Air Marshal Sadiq Abubakar asked the question about Sambisa and also Arekpo area. I mean, for many years we had opportunity of also discussing Arekpo and why we had never taken advantage of air power or air surveillance to deal with the pipeline vandals. What is the situation now?
Well, in Zambeza, like I said, we conduct air operations every day into Zambeza. We use the ISR platform to give us a clear understanding of what is happening there. But I can tell you very clearly that we have degraded the capacity of these guys to really move around in Zambiza forest. The only problem that we are having there is the terrain is very, very difficult for especially our land forces to really move in there. But I can tell you, since air power is not limited by terrain, we are overhead Zambiza on a daily basis, and we keep a very close watch on what is happening to make sure that these criminals are not regrouping in that place. When we intensified bombing, sometimes towards just before the beginning of rainy season, most of them actually moved out of Zambiza forest, because sometimes you fly for hours and you don't see a single human being there. You know, but like I said, the terrain is a big challenge, especially for any force to move, going by what somebody is suggesting there. Then in addition to that, she talked about when you see something, say something. It's very, very important. There is no way an armored tank will spot a 13-year-old girl carrying suicide bombs. Similarly, no fighter aircraft can spot a 13-year girl carrying bombs to go and detonate somewhere in the market or in. So the issue of when you see something, say something is extremely important. It is the community that will now be able to tell us where these girls are mobilized from, who is arming them, how do they get the IEDs across to these girls. And that is where the role of civilians, that's where the civilian contribution in terms of giving of intelligence is very, very important. We can have all the cameras, but we might not be able to. And besides, if you look at Zambiza itself, the size of Zambiza is about 60,000 square kilometers. And if you look at the states where this crisis is taking place, Yobe, Borno, Adamawa State, you are talking about 157,000 square kilometers. So there's no way you pick what is happening using aircraft and so on. It is the communities that have to really come up and give us the information that is required. If you look at the Southwest, yes, we were there equally in the Southwest. We were there also in the Southwest, and we are currently also in the South-South, where we are keeping very close watch of the oil and gas infrastructure in these locations.
Thank you very much, Marshal Sadiq Abubakar. General Buratai, one of the controversies that trailed this why we were lagging behind, it was believed that we couldn't actually get arms to buy outside the country. But then the question, I remember just a few years back, the Nigerian military paraded, vehicles that were made by the military here in Nigeria. And so the question of what are we doing to ensure that, we begin to manufacture hardware in Nigeria so that, you never can tell, just as you said, this is an unconventional one for you now. What we're seeing now wasn't the usual thing. We never can tell where anything could happen so that in the future we're not at the mercy of other people.
Yeah, you've spoken very well. It's an issue that really has been in the front burner of Mr. President, strategy to address, this military-industrial complex. We have the Defense Industries Corporation of Nigeria, which was established around 1964, almost the same time where the Brazilian defense industry was established. But today, the Brazilian defense industry is a different thing. They are manufacturing modern aircraft and so many other things. That's at the height of it, apart from the minor logistic requirement and some armaments, ammunition, and so on. But today, the defense industry of Nigeria is still crawling. It's still in the infancy stage. It's unfortunate. That's the truth. But thank God, Mr. President has made major pronouncement last year, has given the directive to revamp the Nigerian military-industrial complex. And he said this during the National Defense Course graduation ceremony last year. And steps have so far been taken to see that this comes up seriously. The Chief of Defense Staff is also working towards that. The Defense Industries Corporation is being, reorganized. Partnership is being sought and they are working hard. I think this week or early next week they will be traveling out, in a way to get this Defense Industry Corporation of Nigeria really working. And then I remember just about 2 weeks ago, Nigeria and South Africa had signed an MOU on this industrial complex, for them to cooperate and bring up the Defense Industries Corporation. These are all in line with Mr. President's desire and directives for the defense industries to come up. Definitely, we need self-reliance in terms of defense procurement. This is fundamental. We cannot continue to depend on foreign sources of armaments and equipment, military equipment requirements. Yeah.
Yeah, for the Air Chief, what is the role of the Air Force in all of this strive towards self-reliance in terms of armament procurement and acquisition, and in particular, the role also of research and development?
Thank you very much. I think we have, last year we established the Air Force Research and Development Center, which is located in Kaduna. And we have been building capacity over the years. We have over 20 senior officers that have PhD in aerospace engineering. And we have over 40, officers that have read up to master's level at Cranfield University in the UK. So we are doing a lot of research and development. Besides that, we have entered into MOU with 15 Nigerian universities. And we have formed cells, from these universities with our own officers to address some of our maintenance challenges. We are now into UAV production. In 2013, we went into UAV production. We have produced the prototype, and now we are in the process of operationalizing it. And very soon, we'll, commission the operationalized one. The whole engineering design, the concept and everything was put together by Nigerian officers. And I want to also say, as I leave this studio later in the day, I will be in Kainji. We have a research and development cell that has worked on one of our Alpha jets, has modified the weapon system. We can now use rocket ports that are usually used on Eastern Bloc aircraft on an Alpha jet, which is a Western Bloc aircraft. So in area of research and development, we are making substantial progress. In addition to that, before the end of the year, we have organized inter-command research and development competition, which is a forum where each command will come with what they have developed. And we have invited Nigerian universities and other public research institutions to be part of this process. We have also been able to design a number of things that, things that are helping us in the maintenance of our airplanes. For instance, we have what is called the hydraulic diaphragm, which is used on helicopter gunships. We used to buy this thing out. It takes sometimes 6 to 7 months to even get it into Nigeria. But today, with the cooperation of these cells, we've been able to develop our own hydraulic diaphragm, which is used on almost all our helicopters right now. We don't buy this from anywhere, and I think that is saving us some foreign exchange. In addition to that, we had problems with our multifunction display on one of our helicopters that was integrated with a camera system. And we were to spend about 158 million naira to fix it. But now we've been able to sort out that problem using R&D. And what we spent was just about 5 million naira. So as far as R&D is concerned, I think the Nigerian universities particularly are supporting us very well, and we are making substantial progress.
All right, Air Marshal, thank you very much. General Burutai, there have been reports lately that as Boko Haram terrorists are being smoked out of Sambisa, they would appear now to be gathered somewhere around Ningi, local government area in Bauchi State. Is this true, and how worrisome is it?
Well, we've been receiving a lot of information on the movement of persons suspected to be the Boko Haram terrorists or cattle rustlers, as the case may be. As I tell you right now, our troops, although it's an ongoing operation, I shouldn't just mention it, but I want to assure you that wherever they are, we are following them. Okay? That's right.
And also, the welfare of our troops, seeing that people who have done well for the country are rewarded. You know, soldiers who are wounded, what is being done to see that, you know, their health, their families are properly taken care of, and those who have lost, you know, loved ones in this cause, what is being done to combating these issues?
All right. Thank you once again. I want to assure you that the Nigerian Army has the best welfare scheme for its troops. Right now, if I tell you the number of troops, soldiers that are wounded, that we've taken them outside for medical treatment, okay. They're in large numbers. Since I came on board, I think nothing less than 100 and above that we've sent outside for medical treatment, and this costs a lot of money. And we are also attending to them very closely. You may hear complaints here and there. These are in isolations, but I assure you that we've never had it so good. Those wounded, in the hospital, they've never had it so good. The era of abandoning them has gone. And right now, we are partnering with a medical hospital here, a hospital, I think Cedar Crest, let me be specific. They are experts in orthopedics and other elements, which they are receiving very good attention in this regards. We pick them regularly from Kaduna to this facility where they are being treated. We also, you must have seen in one of our activities where we issue checks to the scholarship, as a scholarship, to the children and wards of our disease personnel. And there is this group life insurance also, which is being coordinated at the federal government level through the Ministry of Defense and the Defense Headquarters. Right now, we are expecting to present, or will be presenting some checks, to the families of our disease personnel. And we sponsor the children of our disease personnel up to university level. We sponsor them. And in the field also, from our regular visit, some of the basic welfare needs we try to augment, apart from the regular allowances that are given for the provisions of what you call the ration cash allowance. There are certain provisions that we forward to them, and ensure that regular leave and passes, are organized for the troops, to come home and see their families. This I've insisted since I came on board. We've also organized some rotation. Right now, rotation is ongoing. Troops that have stayed there for long, apart from going on leave periodically, we also organize rotation. Our troops are being rotated. A lot of other measures, I think, is better said sometimes by the troops on the ground. You appreciate it better.
All right, General Borotai, thank you very much for what you have just said. The issue of rotation, of course, has been a sore point. There were reports, sometime in the past about troops stayed in the theater of operation for upwards of 2 years or more. But that's an important point that you just made. Once again, to indicate that our viewers have joined the conversation by joining and sending in their tweets. Joshua Jacob tweets, "Good morning. I commend the military for their tenacity to make our nation safe. However, more needs to be done to boost their morale."
And this one is from Avo Shedue. It says, "Kudos to our service chiefs. What security measure is being put in place on the open roads in NE and railways to avoid Boko Haram attacks?"
Now, Laban Biscuit Steven tweets, "With all the support from the federal government, why are the troops complaining of poor warfare?"
And this one is from Olusha Gundosumu. It says, "I think our military system should stop divulging sensitive information to the enemy through the media in the name of updating Nigerians."
And Ibrahim Tudu tweets, "Now, if you think the military are not effective, you need only to ask Boko Haram, cattle rustlers, and pipeline vendors at the receiving end."
And this one is from Ishak. He says, what happened to the Air Beetle, a local effort aimed at developing a training plane for the Air Force?
And FYID International tweets, now kudos to the chiefs after listening to you both. We are convinced that you are competent in what you do. Human rights issues should also be looked into. Well, those are the tweets that we're taking in the meantime as part of the conversation. We still have the two service chiefs with us here, the Air Chief as well as the Chief of Army Staff. Now, there are concerns also about ongoing recruitment. Some former civilian JTF persons have been said to have been moved into the military depots in order for them to be recruited. How, is this going to be an ongoing exercise or is it a one-off thing?
Just a moment. Maybe let me say a word on the welfare aspect before I address the issue of civilian JTF. Like the Chief of Army Staff said, manpower disposition is a big issue because of the number of challenges that the military is facing, both the Army and the Air Force. So we have increased, and I believe too, the Army has equally increased the number of personnel to be recruited. We are screening these people. In the past, we've been taking about 1,000 recruits every year. This year, we are taking 2,400. 1,200 are currently doing their training. But in the screening, we make sure that we do everything humanly possible to ensure that those that have criminal tendencies are not recruited into the service. And if for any reason we discover that someone has some criminal history, definitely no matter at whatever stage he's doing the training, he will be thrown out. Apart from that, on the issue of welfare, in addition to what the Chief of Army Staff has said, we have also addressed a number of issues that we think are very important for our personnel. One of which is the skill acquisition program that we have introduced that is targeted at giving some skills to the dependents of our airmen in all our units. In addition to that, we have come up now with what is called the non-commissioned officers post-housing program. It's a post-housing program that is primarily aimed or targeted at the low-ranking personnel so that over the years they can be saving some money so that at the end of the day, when they leave the service, they should be able to have a house to move into. These are very, very important. Like we say, the human being is the most important resource. Unless you take care of the human being properly, chances are that whatever you do might not really translate into something that is very, very effective. So for the civilian JTF thing, I think, like I earlier mentioned, we are doing everything humanly possible to make sure that only people of good character are allowed into the services.
Well, just, Rhoda, before you comment, it's a question I would like the Chief of Army Staff to respond to because you have men on the ground, you have boots on the ground, as I said. Mozambique, for instance, which was ravaged by several years of MNR, that's Mozambican Resistance National Movement. They seeded the villages and farmlands with all kinds of landmines. And we understand from reports that Sambisa is also been mined heavily by Boko Haram elements. How well are we doing with demining? And are we also seeking international support?
Well, thank you. Okay, now let me address that, then I will talk on some other, those issues of civilian JTF and the rest, and the welfare also, additional welfare. Well, the mining issue is really an issue that calls for concern, and not only for the troops, but also post-conflict demining process, so as not to affect the civil population, people going to their farms and so on, being affected. And so far, we are collaborating with United States of America, UK, coming in to further enhance capacity in the process of demining. But as I speak now, we are right now offloading our demining equipment that we procured, for use in the Northeast. They just arrived about 2-3 days ago, and we are moving them straight to the Northeast to assist us in the mining process. But this will have to go on even after the conflict. And this is where the civilian aspect of the demining will come in. And I'm sure there are other agencies, international agencies, that are versed in this. They will come in at the end of probably the conflict. Well, in terms of welfare, right now a team is out, from the Army headquarters going to some key resettlement areas where these resettlement areas were established long time ago, but they've been abandoned. We want to bring back those resettlement centers, fully again. We intend to have a complete package where retiring personnel, in fact, not only the non-commissioned officers, but officers that are interested also can, use that facility to resettle. We make provision for whatever skill or occupation they want to, carry out in that place, including farming, ranching, and other, occupations, including housing scheme will be done on those resettlement centers. So this is one other welfare plan that we are making for our soldiers especially. Then for the civilian JTF, actually, having seen their important role, they played, especially at the early stages of the fight against the insurgents, Boko Haram, and the subsequent role they've been playing. Really, it's important that they are recognized. But by and large, our recruitment process goes to, is carried along, is done the same, they go through the same process, the process of screening, and those are qualified, and those that have recruited. So one would not say it's a preferential treatment, for those insurgents. I mean, sorry, the civilian JTFs, but it's a way, to enhance capacity. They know the terrain very well, and they know even those individuals, who are involved in this insurgency and so on. So they can provide useful, intelligence, for us. If they are absorbed formally, it's better for us, rather than if they are left at the end, they become nuisance to the society and become even more problematic. By and large, this, we hope, will enhance, our capabilities there. But by and large, we will also continue to monitor them, not leaving them just like that. But before they came in, they've been screened properly, and I think they are valuable so far.
If I might say, about the air beetle. Yeah. Yes. We've been having a lot of problems with the air beetle, and we have trained for so many years with it, but now we are beginning to see a lot of problems with the engine, a lot of problems with the nose landing gear, and we are, as part of our R&D activity, we are collaborating with ABU Zaria to see how we have a joint cell that is working with ABU Zaria to help us come up with a solution to how we will deal with some of these problems. We are thinking of changing the air beetle with something else in the meantime while this R&D activity is going on.
All right, General, we've had issues of people coming back from the war front and having to do with post-traumatic stress, anxiety, fear. What are you doing to ensure that by the time some of these persons come back, there's a system that has been put together to ensure that they are able to, reincorporate themselves into our normal system?
Well, thank you very much. This is an issue which we've taken very seriously in the Northeast. Right now, we have a counseling officer, a counseling office established, and then with the counseling officer and the staff there to counsel even the troops that are right there in the field, And then at the end of the mission, when they are coming back during rotation, first of all, they move back to Jaji, and the process of de-induction is done, including the post-trauma, distress, this thing. We are in the process. I mean, we are doing it. Yes, we are doing it seriously. And I think the first team, before we commenced, the first two units, were done in their own locations. Yeah, we move them, we move the experts and the resource persons to their unit location. But subsequent ones would say, no, before they even go to their unit, it's better they are done, they are, de-inducted and treated, and counseled, at Jaji. So we are very much aware. We know the implications of this. So that's the situation.
All right, General Botai. Now, Marshal Sadiq Abubakar, the government had indicated in the past that it was going to leverage on the acquisition of new platforms for the Air Force. You've talked about maintenance. Maintenance is good, but of course there's expectation that you keep scaling up your acquisitions. Are any of these ones in the offing at the moment?
Yes, of course we have additional MI helicopter gunships that we are expecting from Russia. A team just came back from Russia after inspecting the aircraft. It has been produced already. And some of our pilots are right now doing some form of training, because these are very sophisticated machines that are coming in that have that can fire guided missiles. And so they are undertaking that training. As soon as they finish the training, the aircraft will be flown back into Nigeria. In addition to that, we have indicated interest to the United States that we want to acquire the Super Tucano aircraft. And the American team was here just about 2 weeks ago, thereabouts, and we have had extensive discussions. And I believe very soon, as soon as they get the clearance from the Congress, the U.S. Congress, we should be able to acquire those platforms. Apart from those ones, we also have the ISR platforms that we're looking at. The CASA 295 is a very interesting one, which we are looking at. And I think by the time you get this, an aircraft that can remain airborne for over 30 hours, doing surveillance and conducting surveillance for us. So these are some of the airplanes we are looking at, but we are also not unaware of the general economic situation. We want to make the best out of what is available, and that is why we are looking at maintenance of the Alpha jets and also using the F-7 aircraft, which is currently located in Maiduguri. From what we have done and the support we have gotten from the federal government, I can tell you that the serviceability status of most of these airplanes have increased substantially. From maybe about three airplanes, we are talking of about 7 to 9 airplanes that are currently, 3 are operating in Maiduguri and then some are operating in Yola.
All right, on that note, we would like to thank Air Marshal Sadiq Abubakar, his Chief of the Air Staff. Thank you for being with us on Good Morning Nigeria today.
Thank you very much.
And we also would like to thank the Chief of Army Staff, Lieutenant General Tukur Buratai. Thank you also for contributing to our discussion.
It's my pleasure. Thank you.
All right, it's Good Morning Nigeria still. We are taking a short break. When we return, we'll be dealing with our second item for discussion this morning. That's also the crisis in the opposition People's Democratic Party.
This is a sheer exhibition of your primitive atavistic tendency.
Any student who does not donate to my ministry will not be blessed by the ministry.
A phenomenon that defies the norm. A comedy and social satire that touches all, bears all, and shakes you up like never before.
Yeah, like after now you go say me they talk all.
This season, starring Kanayo Okanayo, Mercy Johnson, Queen Wokoye, Yomi Fash Lanso, Funky Malam, Ime Bishop, Bimbo Akintola, Oguz Baba, Bidemi Kosoko, Junior Pope, MC for God, Stephen Odingwe, and a host of other mega stars.
In April 12th, there is a Yura.
Intellectual pre-parallel.
Professor John Bull, every Tuesday and Friday, 8:30 to 9 p.m. on NTA International, NTA Network, and Star Times.
Over and
the largest data network, Glow Unlimited.
Hello! Would you like some water? It's cold, especially for you.
Which era are you living in? We have a fridge.
When everything else in your house is from the present, then why are your toilet cleaning methods from the past? Harpic, all-in-one for you. Compared to other toilet cleaners, Harpic removes top stains, kills all germs, and removes bad odors for a shining, clean, and fresh toilet.
Wow!
You should also take the Harpic
all-in-one challenge.
We intend to radically change Newman Street. My company has a track record of converting slums into new cities. Many years of experience has taught us to fish out allies within the communities we want to transform.
Don't listen to your husband. Listen to me. Give me a boy. And the two of you may never even have to work again.
Guy, how are you? What's your name? Akpos. America. Oh, Akpos America. Yeah, wow. Love you too. Wonderful wonder. Wonderful wonder.
All right, you're welcome back. Now, the last is yet to be heard with regard to the National Convention of the People's Democratic Party. Following the court order stopping the National Convention scheduled for Wednesday in Port Harcourt, that's in Rivers State, the party, or some members of the party, now decided to extend the tenure of the Ahmed McAfee-led National Caretaker Committee. Now, that Caretaker Committee, according to them, will function for at least a period of 12 months. Now, the decision, of course, was taken, as we indicated, following the inability of the convention to hold and therefore conduct election into national offices. However, a high court in the Federal Capital Territory yesterday, also presided over by Justice Ogbonna, in a decision nullified the appointment of Ali Modu Sharif as PDP chairman and therefore sacked him from office. Justice Ogbonna described it as a height of impunity for Sharif to have been parading himself as the PDP chairman. The judge therefore also nullified all actions he had taken in the name of the PDP from the day Justice Ashi had earlier notified the amendment to the PDP constitution, the basis upon which Modu Sharif was appointed.
And joining us here in Abuja studios to discuss this issue, the PDP convention, and of course the crisis rocking the party, is Mr. Jide Ojo. He is a public affairs analyst. Mr. Jide Ojo, it's a pleasure to have you join us.
Thank you very much for having me. Good morning, Nigeria.
And from our Port Harcourt studios, we're being joined by Senator Walid Jibri. He is the chairman, PDP Board of Trustees. Welcome, good morning, welcome to Good Morning Nigeria.
Good morning, how are you?
I'm fine, thank you very much. It's a pleasure to have you join us on the program. And also in our Port Harcourt studio is a constitutional lawyer, Mr. Festus Oguche, a regular on the program. Thank you also for joining us this morning.
Thank you very much for inviting me.
All right, let's begin a conversation straight away from Port Harcourt. Mr. Festus Oguche, this certainly are interesting times for watchers of the judiciary. In our newspaper review segment earlier in the course of the program, we referenced page 3 of Daily Trust, which provides timelines for the various conflicting court orders that were said. Some persons are finding it difficult to keep track of which orders have been issued and which orders are being obeyed. What do you make of what has been described as a potential judicial anarchy?
Well, I recall that it was Professor Ronald Dworkin that says that the court must err on the side of caution. We have a rather embarrassing situation in our hands when we begin to see judgments that overturn the orders here and there of courts of coordinate jurisdiction. It has somewhat become a tradition now, the rule rather than the exception. It started with the conflicting judgments on the use of the card reader. Then we had this other judgment of the Federal High Court on the governorship seat in Abia State. The next day, another court, Atosisioma in Abia State, is giving its own interpretation of that judgment. And here we have series of judgments and series of conflicting issues. I think I would rather not perceive a situation where the courts are polarized alongside the bifurcations of a political party. It is quite unhealthy for the sanctity of the judicial system. It touches on the sacredness of the system. It touches on what the judiciary represents. And that is why we are saying that responsibility is key, understanding that the role of the judiciary is very germane to the democratic setup. and to any society. And if we continue the way we are doing, and things continue the way they are doing, judges begin to impinge against their own orders, against the different orders of their brother judges, then I think we are doomed.
All right, let's get to Senator Walid. A court in Abuja said you couldn't go ahead with the convention. Why did you go ahead with it?
Thank you very much. First of all, you have to consider the situation that we are in within our party, within the state of the nation, and within the situation created to our members all over Nigeria. It is very necessary for people to realize the fact that we have a constitution approved, agreed, that we are working on. But very unfortunately, that constitution is not being followed correctly. And because of the various court judgments that have come, at least the PDP have won about 5 or 6 of these judgments, whereas our other person has about 2 or so. And we feel that it's very necessary that we have come to really solve our problem. And therefore, we have decided that we have to hold the convention. We have to hold the convention not to elect officers in obedience with the rule of what is up of the court, and therefore decided that we should come together as members to further take certain decisions. And that's why we converge in our secretariat in Port Harcourt here and taken certain decisions that will be better and improvement on what is happening today. And in that convention, we took certain decisions that will be useful. I don't think we are against any law. We were vindicated by the judgment of Ogunaya of the Abuja High Court that condemned in totality the leadership, the claimed leadership of Modu Sharif. And so I think we have been vindicated. We had our convention, and it has nothing to do with obstruction of the law, and took our decisions for the benefit of our members.
All right, Senator Walid, thank you very much. We'll come back to you. We'll come back now to Mr. Jide Ojo, regular face on Good Morning Nigeria. You listen to Festus Oguche speaking to us, and then Senator Walid. Of course, you've also been following what's happening with regard to the Hydra-headed leadership of the PDP. What do you make of all of this, in addition, of course, to the legal decisions that everyone is trying to make sense of?
First and foremost, good morning, Nigerians. My sense of all that's happening is post-election blues, arising from the defeat that the party suffered in 2015. Why did I say this? You recall that after pressure was mounted on Alhaji Bamanga Tukur to resign and leave, they brought in former governor of Bauchi State, Adamu Muazu. And they asked him to go because they said the game he changed, because his name was Game Changer. The game he changed didn't favor them. They lost the battle, and that the man cannot stay on. So they pressurized him to leave. Now, having left, as at the time he left, the party wasn't, there were cracks here and there, but it wasn't of this magnitude. Now, succession battle arising from the exit of Adamu Muazu is what led us to where we are now. But again, I will commend PDP for choosing the option of legal tussle over and above civil disobedience or protest or the demonstration or even their violence. Self-help. So we should commend them for that. But on the flip side, I'm worried by the role judiciary is playing in all of this. It's becoming messy by the day. And like my learned colleague in Port Harcourt said, chronicling some of on PDP issue, but even on election matters.
Look at the case in Abia, where different courts of coordinate jurisdictions were legitimizing and delegitimizing Uche Oga and Governor Ikpeazu. Today, everything has to be eventually resolved at the level of appellate courts, maybe Supreme Court. That's when we'll see the end of this. But my worry is how this dramatic personnel manage to procure judgments at the snap of a finger. Because it seems predictable that, you know, even all peace efforts was not rebuffed by different parties because they believe that it's just a matter of walking into any of the federal high courts. And this is happening at the federal high court, not even at state high courts, where you could say by insinuation that maybe the governor is in charge. This is a federal high court, which is under a federal judiciary, that it's just issuing different orders by the day without taking cognizance of previous orders that have been issued by a court of coordinate jurisdiction. I believe this is a judicial rascality, and it's not helpful in deepening our democracy in Nigeria, because if this trend continues, the democracy may be in jeopardy. The way it's done, the court is supposed to be the last resort, both for common and uncommon men. But where you have a situation where you cannot take judicial notice of what a previous court order has said about an issue and possibly advise the appellants to go to the appeal court for better clarification or intervention, and you are just issuing orders and countermanding one another, I don't think this is very good for Nigerian democracy.
Thank you very much, Mr. Jide Ojo. Let's get to Mr. Festus Uguche. The PDP went ahead to hold the convention yesterday. First of all, what is the implication of this? And you just listened to Jide Ojo. He said, it seems as though, you know, it's a situation of shopping for judgments. What is the implication of this also on our judicial system?
Well, I wouldn't call what happened yesterday as a convention. Section 85 of the Electoral Act states that conventions must have to do with elections. Well, whatever you call it, they extended the tenure of the caretaker and did what have you. I thought that what should have been is that they should have respected the order of court and maintained the status quo. Status quo as defined by Justice Oputaido Ojukwu against the governor of Lagos State. That's the status quo antebellum, and allow issues to calm before taking a decision on that. It is not very healthy, like I said, for our democratic system, for our judicial system, and I believe that the Supreme Court has said it over and over again in an avalanche of judicial authorities, that if you think a particular order or judgment of court is not proper, or the court gave it without jurisdiction, that does not stop you from obeying. You must be the onus, the duty is on you to obey the judgments of courts of competent jurisdiction. I think they should have put it on hold for now, and the implication is far-reaching because we are now sending signals out to the members of the public that orders of courts can be disobeyed. And of course, you know, the level of public confidence in the judicial system in Nigeria is at its very lowest ebb. I'm very sorry to put it that way, but that is the fact. And it is simply because the political elites are just very desperate to get it their way. And when they do that, they go consult lawyers who are also very desperate to get their funds. They file all manner of things that they know at the end of the day will raise a lot of dust. It is not very healthy. It is totally improper. And we are also saying that the judicial system has a duty to ensure that the attributes of the fundamental principles of justice are represented in their pronouncements, in terms of clarity, in terms of consistency, in terms of certainty. And the whole thing that is happening within this tripartite debacle of judicial indiscretion, if you may put it that way, does not represent these three attributes of the fundamental principles of justice. The implication at the end of the day is that we have a judicial system that can be kept under the whims and caprices of the political elites. Very sorry for that. Probably the Constitution created that scenario because we have a Constitution that provides that the political class appoints the justices and the judges from the highest court to the lowest, and the judicial system is not completely insulated from political interference. And we are also saying that these things could be done in a much more proper manner if judges understand the nobility and the sacredness of their office.
All right, Mr. Festus Oguche, thank you very much. The other leg of the question, which you seem not to have touched on, has to do with what Mr. Jide Ojo described as the seeming judicial rascality. If you have rascals behaving the way Mr. Ojo has described them to behaving, who steps in as the monitor to say enough?
Yes, the judicial system, in spite of the fact that it is not wholly autonomous, has a self-regulating system. We have the National Judicial Council. I think Mr. Jide Obi used the appropriate words in saying it's judicial rascality. I'd said that it is a vicious cycle of judicial debacle. And that is quite unfortunate. First of all, we have a judgment. There's a judgment of July 4 here in Port Harcourt, recognizing this other group. That other group now goes to the Federal High Court in Abuja that issues another order. Then the Federal High Court in Port Harcourt now issues a conflicting order, trying maybe to stem down on the order of his brother George in Abuja. And we are saying these are clear cases of res judicata. These are clear cases of once the Federal High Court, as far as I'm concerned, became functus officio on the issue of the executive of PDP immediately upon the July 4 judgment of the Federal High Court here in Port Harcourt. And that issue ought to have been brought to the notice of the judge in Abuja, who, in spite of that, went ahead and issued another order. Then we have another judge in Port Harcourt here trying to, he said he wants to protect or preserve his own judgment, as though the judgment of the Federal High Court in the Abuja division is different or distinct from that in the Ibadan division. I don't see where this one is coming. I think it's high time something be done about it. The NJC has a duty and a role to play in this direction. It's not just sitting and waiting for petitions to come in before they rise up to the occasion, like the AFCC wants us to believe. Of course, the CAJN has said, well, you have to look into these issues, because we are seeing a situation where the judicial system is being desecrated totally and completely on all corners, and there must be a stop to that tradition. It should be the exception rather than the rule.
Right, Mr. Festus Oguche, constitutional lawyer, thank you very much. Now let's also get the last comments in this segment of the conversation from Senator Walid Jibril. Senator Walid, we've had you on the program sometime in the past at our Abuja studios. Now, the PDP, as it were, is struggling. You set up a reconciliation reform committee. Nothing appears to be working. You are battling on all fronts with all kinds of litigation. Is the PDP likely to survive the current internal dissension?
Oh, thank you very much. I want to assure you and every person that the PDP will survive all temptations by some individuals and group to kill it. We are going to survive it because we are built on truth, and whatever you build on truth will never die. But once you change from your stand on the truth, the thing will scatter. We have set up very many reconciliation committees to try to pursue Madu Sharif, to see reason as a member of PDP to come together and let us solve this problem. But it has not been possible. We have, again, the Board of Trustees of the party has decided that we should give it a trial by forming another reconciliation committee, by bringing this aggrieved party together. And what we did, and we formed this committee under the leadership of Professor Jerry Gana. Professor Jerry Gana and his team have visited Madu Sharif, they visited the governors, they visited the National Assembly, they have discussed with the state chairman, 36 state chairmen of our party, and they also discussed with our elders. And out of part of the discussion is to try and bring the party together through this reconciliation. judiciary will go this way. And what we are saying is that the party is supreme. The party is above any individual. And therefore, no individual will try to bring down this party. We are aware that the judiciary is there. We are giving our respect to the judiciary, but we also realize that we have our constitution, and we have to work with our constitution. If I were the judiciary, I'm not a lawyer, I'm not a judge, but I would have thrown this back to us to say, okay, what does your constitution say on all these things you are bringing to court and so on? We have this constitution. In our constitution, there is a procedure in chapter 10. Before you take anything to court, you must have exhausted all the procedure that is within the constitution.
All right, Senator Wali Jibril, we are really indeed pressed for time. We're sorry we have to quote you for this time, but then indeed we really appreciate your thoughts and time on this issue, and of course we'll continue to follow the issue. We've been speaking with Senator Wali Jibril from our Port Harcourt Network Center. He is a chairman, board of trustees of the People's Democratic Party. Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you.
All right, a very big thank you also to Mr. Festus Oguche, and we want to say thank you very much also for your thoughts and time.
Thank you, and I will suggest that a constitutional court be created so that all these issues will go to constitutional courts and let the regular courts mind the business of ensuring the proper working of the justice system.
All right, thank you very much. Mr. Gideojo, we thought we could actually take your parting words, but indeed we're pressed for time. We want to say thank you so much for taking our time to join us this morning on Good Morning Nigeria.
It's my pleasure. Thank you for having me.
All right, it's on that note, we want to say a very big thank you to you also for taking our time to join us this morning on the program. But before we go, a report just coming in says there is a development in South Sudan crisis as the opposition leader and former vice president is reported to have left the country. Rikma is the vice president of South Sudan. He is reported to have left the country. We'll continue to bring you update on this here on the NTA as the day goes by. Thank you very much. Good Morning Nigeria returns 7 a.m. tomorrow morning. I'm Rhoda Obo.
And I'm Kingsley Osadolo. I join Rhoda in thanking you for starting your day with us. Do have a nice day.